I get this from Anscombe, Elizabeth Anscombe, great moral philosopher in the 20th century, who says that if you don't make this kind of distinction, if you don't understand double effect, and then it's intentional, the intention versus foreseen, or what Thomas calls the outside the intention, then you're going to give up on the principle of having norms that are absolute. So like 10 Commandment kind of norms or something. Like, for instance, you shall not murder under any circumstance, right? If you don't have a principle that distinguishes between intentions and foreseen, and merely foreseen things, then you're just looking at the effects, and that's going to determine things. But that means that you're going to have to cough up any notion of any principled absolute norms, like I don't kill innocent people, because sometimes innocent people might die, are effects of war, or effect of just war, or effect of other things. And then you don't want to say, oh, I guess I don't believe in absolute morality. I don't believe in absolute things that just categorical imperatives or commandments or something, right? Because there are these effects. Rather, the distinction allows you, and it forces you to say, no, there will be some bad effects to things in any sort of decision, and some of these decisions are really important, and yet I still fully believe that you cannot take an innocent life intentionally. You can't do that. Even if there are situations where an innocent life is taken, it's not an immoral act because of foreseen, and that's an extreme case, of course. We mentioned your case with we started with the Alpine case before we got to the really weird super case, the clown Hellbird chainsaw event.
Yeah.
But it's nice that if you might think, Anscombe's point is, you might think, no, I'm a real absolutist. Like, I believe in morality. This sounds like we're becoming relativists or consequentialist utilitarians, this sort of thing. And I'm full on. I want to be with Thomas Aquinas and Kant and all this, and the kind of the real boys, right? But no, they have this position because this is the kind of position you have to make this distinction. If you don't, you're going to end up having a utilitarian position anyway. So it's a cool paradox in the philosophical aspect that you might think this sounds like it's making things more complicated, but it's more complicated to allow for the simplicity of certain moral truths that we just never, like, for instance, lying, that we never tell lies under any circumstances, according to St. Thomas Aquinas and other moral thinkers. And this is a principle that allows you to understand how that works in the world too. So I think even though you don't have clown murderers running around, or you might not always be alpining, there are situations where you will have to deal with the world and its effects, and there'll be effects that you don't particularly want. I assume this is just like surgery, like if you don't believe this, then you shouldn't be cutting people open. That's a bad thing. But that's not your intention, or like there's a possibility of this, you might die on the table or something. Therefore, we shouldn't. No, that's might even be foreseen that it's very likely, but it's worth this risk because of the other thing, because you don't intend that. So it's an important moral distinction, as you say, though, to think about the complications and what it means to live in a world seeking the good and yet respecting the moral boundaries involved.
Father Bonaventure, if you had the choice between holding a toad and subscribing to a YouTube channel, what would you choose?
Subscribe to a toad holding a YouTube channel.
Oh my gosh. Please subscribe to a toad holding a YouTube channel, especially if it's ours. Cheers.